Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and hello to all my returning subscribers. Thank you for checking out my video, and hello to all new viewers checking this video out. Hope you guys like it and decide to subscribe. Guys, today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is very sensitive but it's not talked a lot about. It is about Air Force suicides. There are other branches of military that are dealing with this as well, and even the U.S. veteran population is dealing with this as well. Civilian world is actually dealing with this. The numbers are rising, but today I'm going to be talking about Air Force suicides, then giving my own perspective and opinions about it, and again, all my opinions and perspective. But just quick, the article I'm going to be linking down below in the description is about talking about the Air Force the Air Force ordering a stand-down day. This is pretty much indicating for the Air Force leaderships to have a training sessions with their airmen and also having a discussion to try to find out what is causing these suicides, ways to prevent it. This happened last year. They had a stand-down day for the same reason, but going along the lines is right now in the current time when what the article is saying, there are currently 78 to 80 suicides in the active duty of the United States Air Force. With those current projections, that could end up by the end of the year about 150 to 160 suicides, which would be about 30 more than from last year, that indicating a rising one. But like I said, an earlier number, not only that branch, not only is the Air Force, but every other branches, and even the U.S. veteran population, even the citizen population, suicide is rising, especially young people. But that's pretty much it. So they're really just having a sit down, trying to find ways, have a deep discussion with their airmen, and say, how can we prevent these from this happening? That's pretty much what the article is. I quickly summarized it, not to my perspective about it. So Air Force suicide is a prevalent issue, and it is happening. I asked a friend who just recently cross-trained. He was in mental health, who dealt with this. When people had issues, they went to them, and they would see a psychiatrist or therapist, and etc. They could be a military member or civilian, and they would just talk to them about these different issues. The reason being, what I learned from my friend though, and I think, again, it's my perspective, so if you guys disagree, that is fine. But what I learned from my friend is about suicide is they may never find the main issue of why suicide has been committed by that person. There are many different factors that go into it, that maybe play into it and add those unnecessary extra stresses to life and ultimately lead to suicide, but it may not be the main reason, but they may never find out. And I kind of see what he's talking about. You have all these other factors that happen in life that play into that main factor, but do we all really find out what was the main reason? People like to think they do. They want to know, say, oh yeah, this is the reason why they did it. But until the person who actually committed is maybe the only one who knows. But there could be a lot of different factors going into it that could lead to it. I'm not saying I'm a mental health expert about it. I've gone into more, and I've really had a better perspective of it and understanding and empathy toward it, so I can see what it means. So people are wondering, why doesn't the Air Force military members talk more about mental health, and why don't they go get help when they need it? This is again my main opinion about it is there's just such a taboo behind it. There's such a label, a stigma to if you become known for someone who has mental issues in the military, it really does they don't want to admit it. The Air Force, they'll never admit it, they'll never say it, but there is a stigma to it. So for example, stuff that could happen to you that people don't talk about, you could lose assignments, you could lose deployments, or can affect your career overall the whole way. So for example, assignments, there's certain areas in the Air Force where your bases are located that they won't send you. For example, PACAF, which is the Asian Pacific area, Korea, Japan. If they don't have the capabilities to help you there, they're not going to send you out there, or they're not going to send you there overall because of the high tempo, high stress. So if they say, oh, this person's had mental issues, even if it's been a year or two, they still might cancel those assignments. They want a long history of, oh, they've been fine, they don't need to be going there. That can affect you. That can affect your career, like, for your other ones. For example, if you put Korea as a short-term assignment, then you want in Japan. If you lost Korea, of course, then you're going to lose Japan, and then you can go somewhere else. That affects like what you're going to do, your plans. Like, hey, I want these 2 assignments, so I'm going to extend. But then if you don't get that, you decide to cancel extension. But if you it's a last-minute cancellation, you go into your enlistment. It's just a lot of different reasons. Number two is about the deployments. You get deployments canceled. You have to be physically and mentally and emotionally ready. In another video, I'll link it above. It's deploy or get out, but pretty much you have to be ready to deploy or get out. Simple as that. But you have to go through a psychiatrist, like a mental health evaluation, and that can affect you. So even if, let's say, it's been a year or two, but you've had issues and you're still being seen, they're going to say, does these bases that you're going to attempt, possibly deploy to, have the capabilities to take care of you? If they don't, they get canceled, and then someone has to get replaced right away. And as a lot of people don't like to talk about their mental health issues out in public to like even their coworkers or leadership, and they don't feel comfortable because of that stigma behind it, people are not going to understand what they're going through. And of course, they're going to be, assume, and they're going to assume, sadly, usually the negative. That has happened. These people who are put in last minute to replace these people who got replaced, it becomes, in their point of view, it's been an inconvenience. Hence, these people did not know what's going on, so they assumed and said, oh, these people are just trying to get out of the deployments. It's happened. The Air Force doesn't like talking about it. People deny it, but that is true. So you have that second issue. Number three is career. It can affect your career. You constantly have to go to weekly checkups to be seen and all that and cleared. And sometimes people because of the heavy burden of, mental health, if people go say, you need to go be seen, sometimes they're not supposed to send you unless it's like life or it could really affect your health. But sometimes people feel pressured that they need to go see mental health, and they go, well, it's going to affect my my career and stuff. And people say, no, it isn't. And it does. For example, like when people find out their career, they get canceled, I've actually heard it happen. Someone got their deployment canceled. The person who was replacing them was feeling really bad, and they were stressing out, why did they have to get sent out? The leadership assured them that the person who got out of the deployment, even though the person didn't have any control of getting out of that deployment, that they would make sure they would handle it in base. So, they're going to take care of it and make sure that this person who assumed trying to get out of the deployment would, be reprimanded or something like that. Again, they don't know what's going on with this person. They don't know that that's one of the biggest issues is people are not trying to get out of deployments. The Air Force is requiring, the bases you're deploying to or going to don't have the necessary facilities to take care of that person, they can't deploy. That's out of their control. Even if they're doing better, the person has no control if the Air Force deems it saying, hey, you can't go there anymore. So that adds all this fuel. You have people in your shop, people you think they're your family, your friends, having these perspectives about you, these assumptions of you. That adds an unnecessary thing to you. Say, am I getting the support? Is my leadership supporting? Is my coworker supporting me? They don't believe me. They don't see that I'm actually willing to go and stuff. These people are getting these kind of mindsets, and that adds, again, they don't know what's the main reason of why they're depressed or I have anxiety or these other mental issues, but they have these secondary issues going on top. It's just like a pressure effect pushing down, and unless you actually go through that, you'll never understand. So that's something that people don't understand that could possibly tip them over, oh, people don't really actually respect me. These people don't actually care about me. They only see me as someone who's trying to avoid a deployment or trying to get out of something so I don't have to. Again, it's going to come down to a person's perspective, but that's something that a lot of people don't hear, and sadly it does happen. People can argue as much as they want, but that is something that happens. That's just undeniable. And I think also just on the other things that the Air Force and the military, you're looked as a number. So if you're no longer an asset, if you're getting, when you decide to separate or retire, you're no longer an asset to them. So if you're separating quickly, you're no longer deemed important. Again, my perspective and opinion, but you're no longer helping the military. So it's not, they need to focus on people who are still in the military getting the mission done. So when people are separating and getting out, that you get that feeling of, they're losing that part of the family. They're losing someone they've been close with constantly, a large part of their life. That could be another one. Family could be another one. Kids, work, extra stuff, leadership, co-workers, all these things can play and be a secondary factor of things that add to your mental health. and can be possibly add to that and lead to suicide. Is the Air Force not doing enough? It's such a slippery slope, and it's an answer that's very difficult. There's training and everything. But I think really the misconception of what mental health is, what it leads to people to be depressed, what kind of support they get, resources, it is. I completely understand the Air Force needs people who are mentally strong and mentally fit, mentally, emotionally ready. I mean, mentally fit, physically fit, emotionally fit as well. They need all this because it's a organization that has a mission to complete that mission. They can't have all these extra factors. They need the most fit people to be prepared. But again, there are resources for these people who are in already, who should be taken care of, even if they're separating or retiring. That should be non-negotiable, in my opinion. That should be, yes, they need to leave. They're not mentally fit and stuff, but they should be taken care of, and not all these issues later on when they separated and then possibly leading. But also leadership could do is really try to connect, and it's really difficult because again it's a mission driven organization. They're there to go from point A to point B, solve these problems, and they don't really have time to add these unnecessary distractions when people are having these kind of breakdowns, when they're having these kind of issues, because their goal is to complete the mission. Simple as that. And it's really difficult to connect. So I think people brought this up, is like when the military members come into the military, they should get a stronger background check. And why are people being allowed to? If you look at it too, though, numbers have been low, like recruiting-wise. Recruiters have been having a harder time getting military members. The reason being is the economy is good. People going, why should I go into the military when I can just do this and that? With what you're having, you're still having people, yes, they're maybe not the top of the top, but they are still willing to serve. They're only the 1% of the US population who's willing to serve. So we have to keep in that mind. Suicide is such a big question. You even have military members, and this hurts, who actually say, suicide is a cop-out way. It's one of the worst choices, the weakest choices, to decide to take your life and say, oh, okay, that's the easy way out. First of all, screw all those people who say that. You have no empathy. You have no understanding of what suicide is, what these people are going through. And you even have military members who are saying that. If you go on Facebook, you see them typing, and they're going like this and this. There's no reason why they should. They have all these resources and stuff. Resources like reading and stuff is not what all people need. It's called emotional support, mental support, and getting people who actually care and support. With your kind of comments, it reminds people who are going through a hard time that you don't care, and that's some of the people they get. They're in leadership position in the Air Force. They're leaders, supervisors, and they're getting that kind of reception when they're getting these kind of they're going through a mental breakdown, or they're having problems in their life. That's what leads people to feel like they're not taken care of. Yes, I've seen that, and it really hurts. It really breaks my heart when I read that. When you think you have brothers and sisters writing that, it's a cop-out way for them. A suicide's cop-out way. It's the easy way out. They don't want to face their problems and everything. That's bullshit, and that's bull crap. And if you think people who are saying that, you will never understand, because you have either never been through it, or you never had someone who's committed suicide. And don't try to understand, say, oh, I've had people commit suicide. I know. You don't know anything. And that's one of the saddest things, and that's one of the biggest prevalent issues in the military, with that big kind of disconnect. When you have people arguing about, well, people should not need to be committing suicide. There's no need. There's so much to life and everything. That's grand and all. But you try telling that to a person who's going through an issue like that, and try and help them, because until you do that, you'll never empathize with it. And that's one of the biggest changes that the Air Force needs to. Sorry guys, my camera ran out of space, my memory card actually. So I just want to say that it is such a big issue. Definitely more support would be something big about that. Yes, if the military member has to separate about this, that's understandably, but don't make it seem like, well, you're no longer an asset, it's time to leave and all that. Asking people every day just to see how they're doing, starting with the leadership and below, even the higher ones, even if they're not your direct supervisor or leadership with the AFCs, having the higher up leaderships, not seeing these people as just numbers, but actually try to build those connections and see them as people is something important. people who are getting their deployments canceled and those ones who are placing, find out, like, give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not just because they're trying to get out of the deployment. There's maybe going through an issue that you could ask about, or just at least give them the support about. Don't be holding it against that person, which is very sad that if you think they're trying to get out of the deployment, and you're feeling unnecessary stress, that's understandable, but give that person a benefit of doubt that they're going through something. There's just understanding a respect factor and trying to connect as human beings to each other can really help this kind of issue in the Air Force, in my opinion, can really help with that suicide rate. Again, this is all my opinion perspective. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this. I just gave my true perspective. It's an issue that is continuously going, and it's something that needs to be addressed not only in the Air Force, but every branch of the military and also the veteran population. Guys, I hope you got something out of this. The links are below. Click, subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. A lot of people need to see this kind of video. If you guys have anything to say, comment below. We can have a debate about it, see what you guys have perspective-wise. Again, this is only my opinion. Thank you guys so much. Take care, God bless, and look out for each other.